different approach, and there'll be much more accountability in the way funds and the capital is being used for the sake of ensuring that profit is is is, is, is earned, right, on the invest which they have placed their money on. That in itself would also ensure that the government will also get to earn money from taxes, right? Income tax and corporate taxes, isn't it? So at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation for us Kenyans. By the fact that the taxes which we pay is not going to be used anymore in keeping afloat these ever indebted factories, right? And number two, then we would have more projects. Let's say more roads will be built in our or rather constructed in our areas because there'll be more money at the government's hands. And another thing is our farmers will be paid on time because for any private developer, they would want to have a steady supply of raw materials, and in this case, raw materials is sugarcane. And in that case, they would want to keep their books clean by making sure these farmers are paid on time, right? So that they can keep receiving this what do you call this sugarcane from these farmers. Another thing is CSR, corporate social responsibility. I mean, I believe these companies would then be in a position to even perform other CSR activities within the communities which are around these factories, right? When you look at it, um, the CS for Treasury, I think it was Rotich, it was around 2020. I'll confirm what year that was. He spoke about around 85% of government-owned parastatals and agencies were not paying the taxes that they have deducted from their employees, right? And that is very bad. Those would run into billions. You can imagine workers being deducted or other employees being deducted money for taxes, but the agency is not remitting that money to the government. You see? So I would say just by the fact that we would transfer all these responsibilities to private investors, then would avoid all these other things that come along with the fact that when we manage our own companies in regards to the government doing that. I mean, it's best if we release all these government institutions, rather agencies, factories, and other parastatals to private sector. That is my view. That's how I look at it. So it's a good move if we want to look at it from a Kenyan perspective that wants to see the best out of the Kenyan farmers in this regard to the sugarcane farmers in the western region. Now, as to whether they should change their crops as to what Mr. Lendo was talking about, now that's a different story altogether because I believe it's not an issue of how sugar is made, whether it's made from corn, whether it's made from sugarcane. If we take our tea using sugar made from sugarcane, then that's how we do it. So it's not for us to change the crop, but for the management of those factories to be changed. I mean, the model to be changed. If we have been funding it all those years, I mean, as a government, and it's not been working, why not try another way? You cannot keep doing the same thing, same way, and expect different outcomes, right? So I think just like I've outlined earlier on, it is best that we go for this move of leasing these factories. Then that's how I look at it. As to the issue of rotating the Madaraka Day, that's a good thing because you see, as you've seen, I had Leo clearly outline how 21 kilometers have been constructed just for the preparation of the president going to that area. That's a good thing that you see now. It's a one-day event. The president has gone, right? The event is past, but 21 kilometers is still going to be there. It's going to be helping the Kenyans that live around that area, right? Now they have an airstrip, right? And a runway has been made. I mean, has been constructed in that area. The president has only used it today, right? Then he's gone. So it's going to be there. It's going to be the Bungoma people that are going to be using it. So I mean, if the same thing will be happening for the rest of Kenya, I mean, if we're in a rotate around Kenya. That's a good thing because it brings about. mm, It might not be a mass development, but it's some form of development happens when the president tours your place. So it's a good thing that in this Madaraka Day was held in Bongoma, and to me, what was said was great. As to what my good friend was talking about, the issue of I don't know Raila won or what. I mean, I think we tulimaliza hiyo chapter tukavuka hiyo chapter because now if you open that book I don't think hiyo kitabu tutamaliza kuisema tena sahihi because we'll argue today, tomorrow, and it will never end. The fact remains here is we know who was declared the president. I want to debate it
Yeah, Black,
the
it's
end of the
because you
year, even
believe in
years to
corruption
come.
and
But mwisho wa siku
you
we have our
defend
president
corruption and
that was
believe in
declared the winner, and
corruption.
that's it. So we move that way.
That's why you said what you said. Okay? So we
It's
know
not.
what you have said. You believe
It's
in
very
corruption and you
unfortunate.
defend corruption.
It's very unfortunate.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate that hello. It's very unfortunate that you can jump in to say that I support
Black, I
Black,
don't know. We are losing you. Maybe you can work on your audio. Of course, I know you'll still have time to maybe respond to some of the questions that I asked you. If we've so far done well, 60 years plus, if we compare with our neighbors, but I can also see somebody who also joined us now. I can maybe give him time to introduce himself and tell us what he feels about today's
Oh, here we
Madaraka Day.
go. Here we go with Kenya Revolutionary. Hebu tungoje tusikie huyu sasa.
Before we get to Kenya Revolutionary, yes.
fanya hivyo.
No, somebody is talking. Before I go to Kenya Revolutionary, I want to welcome. Okay, I don't know why people are dropping, people are running away. All right, Kenya Revolutionary. Maybe you've been on the comment section. I know you have a lot. You can proceed and tell us how you see the Madaraka Day, 61 years of Madaraka. Is there anything that we can be proud of? I don't know why Kenya Revolutionary is on and off, but it's okay.
But,
I can see George Moringa. George Moringa, karibu sana Afrique. You can just maybe introduce yourself and tell us your view of today's Madaraka.
George,
Unmute,
it's your turn.
unmute.
Unmute your mic.
Oh, I'm supposed to speak. Hi, guys. My name is George Maringa. I'm a journalist working at TV47 Kenya. I just got on the program, so I was um, hoping to see the baseline, and then I'll be able to contribute perhaps later on. Later on.
Maybe I need. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. You can hear you, Mzalendo. Go on.
Kenya Revolutionary called me a very funny name that I probably took Mogoka this evening when I was giving my submission. I think that is very, very offensive, and he needs to withdraw whatever he's saying on the comment section. But having said that, I didn't take any Mogoka. I don't use any of those plants. I'm not a goat. So please, Kenya Revolutionary, withdraw whatever you are saying on the comment section about me. What I said is very, very clear on my stand on these factories. These factories can be better if they are privatized. That way, they'll be more efficient for the locals. That way, they'll be more competitive with the trends in the market that the government cannot cope with. That way, the locals will benefit more if the factories are privatized, the only thing that they might lose is a few job opportunities here and there, because when a private entity comes in, he maximizes on the production and efficiency of any particular factory that anywhere that they are injecting their money. Just as Black has said, if you calculate the amount of money that has been spent in generation, some of it you were injected even before most of you got to see the doors of a classroom. So there have been a lot of money injected in Mumias. There's been a lot injected in Nzoia, and yet we continue doing the same thing, expecting different results. We cannot get any results from these factories. It will be complaint after complaint, because the appointments in those factories are political. And if you want to say you are going to change the laws, then you cannot change them in midterm of your presidency, because most presidents who come in depend also on giving those wananchi the false promises or the actual promises to revive those factories, which are implemented. Then the money is eaten, then we are back again to the same circle. So we expect the money to be eaten again, but that will be injected by Ruto's regime. Itakulwa. The factory, itatoa moshi for a few years, and then back again to receivership. So that is exactly what will happen. Kenya Revolutionary.
Yeah, Kenya Rebel is here.
About my gadget.
Oh, all right. Can you hear me?
It is only. Can
Yeah.
I request to respond to Ellie, because as I was trying to do so, my gadget misbehaved. So because prior to my gadget misbehaving, I had my small brother Ellie say that I supported the move because I support corruption. Now, I would want him to substantiate his claims of the fact that the for what I say, that I support the move by the president, that being translated to me supporting corruption, or aside from that, talking about why I supported UDA at the time of the campaigns, meaning that I'm in support of corruption. So maybe perhaps he could substantiate that to be great. If not, then he should take back his words. You know, it's best if substantiate each and everything that we say, right? Because otherwise, then it would only be an insult. And I think he's the number one panelist here that is always against that notion whereby people just throw in words that would insinuate or bring about negative image to the to the full extent of it being termed as an insult or an abuse. So maybe perhaps for once, if he could dance his own song, which he usually say, what was to Kanane. So unless he substantiates, then he should apologize. Thank you.
Eli, do you have a response to that?
I think that's just dry humor.
Move closer to your microphone. I don't think we are getting you clearly.
Can you hear me?
We can hardly hear you. So maybe if you won't mind moving closer. Yeah?
I'm saying,
Good.
I think that's just some dry humor, you know. Some people here are being sarcastic. This is trail of thoughts.
We can't hear you. Eli, you're so far to your mic.
My mic is on. You can hear me. Is that better now?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, in this panel, some people are just here to respond to people's comments that come with the original persuasive arguments. That's why they get lost, these discussions. Fair play to them because they tried, but always they try to respond to people's comments. Okay, Ellie said this, Zalendo said this, Black said this. You need to understand what someone is saying. Probably need to research what someone is saying. Just the matter of just commenting, just responding to someone's comment may not make sense if you're not understanding what they're saying. I'm not trying to be a philosopher here. I'm trying to say that half of the time I hear people here in this platform just responding knee-jerk reactions instead of consistent tell us what is the okay. I said something about William Ruto. I have no time for him. I didn't have time for Kibaki 2 and Uhuru 1 and 2 because for me there was no legitimacy in the so-called election. Then he parades here saying, why are we talking about Raila? What I've said is what I've said in the way I've said it. It's not confusing to you. You don't just respond to what I've said. Say your thoughts. In my comments, these discussions, I always bring at least 5 different things in my discussions because we don't have room for talking here for hours and hours. So I try to squeeze things together, okay? And this may confuse people with simple minds like Black, where when I say simple minds, it just means I'm insulting. But I'm saying what is the truth because I listen to you all the time. You know? And he might have big minds in other things, but in some things he has a simple mind. And I'm very honest about this, okay? Because none of us here can say that we're perfect. We're not, okay? We're philosophical, yes. And it doesn't mean that we have to follow a trail of thoughts. So if Leo says this, I have to understand Leo in the way he says this. What I'm asking here is, do you understand what someone is saying? Or are you just responding to that person? Okay? Because I sound different doesn't mean that what I'm saying is stupid. No. So when you speak about Ellie saying insults or as a tribalist and all these things, me, I understand that you don't understand me. That's what I'm saying. And if you're not happy with that, that's your problem. It's not mine. I'm not here to spoon feed you. Thank you, sir.
You know what I can say is just one thing. Moving forward, really, you should be the last person that should ever complain here that anybody has spoken anything that made you feel bad, because plenty of times you have been coming here, oh, early this, early that, and many times is when Kenya Rebel say some things that are in disagreement to you, or even Buru. Let me not bring Buru because Buru is not here. Kenya Rebel is here. We'd always talk about why you directly referring to me, blah blah blah. So now, I think that is an antidote to which I've just given to you. Moving forward, you should just man up whenever such things are mentioned that you would be mentioned early, and focus to what that guy is talking about and not what he's mentioning in regards to early. Moving forward swiftly. I don't want to dwell in that. They say little things bother little minds. So I don't want to be like that. So that's I just wanted to give you. I just wanted to give you an antidote. There was a reason why I brought that up. I just wanted to give you an antidote because I've debated
That's
you
my
for a
younger
long time.
brother.
I know how you think. I know how
My
you
younger
reason.
brother.
It's my small brother Eli. Now, moving forward, let's continue with the debate.
We can. I think we've not had Kenya Revolutionary. Now settled, he can maybe try to organize himself and.
Leo, there was a guy here from
Yes.
TV 47 or something like that.
Yeah, that is my guy. We have been working
So-
together, so I brought him to, into the show. He's a political host.
Yeah, let's hear what he's saying, because this is a serious platform, which gives alternative things that they can't say in TV 47. We say them here. So tell him to speak. We want to hear what he's saying.
Let me try to bring him back. I told Leo to give him space so that he can talk, but he stayed on waiting.
No, let him talk. Let him talk. No, I think it's because Eli kept about my small brother Eli. Yes, because my small brother Eli kept saying, when I was saying what I'm saying, when I'm saying, understand what I'm saying is not what I'm saying. There was a lot of saying. So maybe perhaps the guy got tired of what he's saying. Anyway, that was on a lighter note.
Let me look for George. Let me look for George.
Yeah,
so
that was on a lighter note. But maybe I think moving forward in regards to Gachagua, I don't know if anybody noted that he spoke very little for very little amount of time.
Actually, I wanted to get to know from you. Gachagua will give you an opportunity to speak. Of course, he just said hi and told people he used to be and is still a fan of AFC Leopards. That is the only sentiment. If we were to rewrite a Bible when the shortest verse was Jesus wept, we would say Gachagua greeted people and said he supported AFC Leopards. So why do you think he kept off maybe politics, updates of what the government is doing and their relationship and such kind of things?
It perturbed me because he just said that my sole purpose here was to just introduce you, Your Excellency. Because half of the time which he spent speaking, which was like around 3 minutes, like a minute 50 seconds, close to 2 minutes, because I watched the speech and I looked at the time which he spent on that podium. Half of that was spent in greetings, right? Then a quarter of that was spent in talking about FC Leopards, and then the other quarter was spent on welcoming the president. He did not speak anything about Madaraka Day. He did not say anything about development of the projects whatsoever. His was just to say that he supports the president in doing the things which the president would want to do to improve development to the entire Kenyan regions, and that's it. That's the only thing that he said in regards to that was away or aside from the introduction or the greetings and the FC Leopard talk. Yani kazi yake ni kumsaidia rais, kwisha, full stop. And that's the only thing about Madaraka Day you could say that he brought to he brought to Bungoma. So how to translate that, it's either he was in a rush, he just wanted to get over it. Pengine hakutaka kitu iketi sana muda mrefu, pengine he just wanted iishe tu haraka aende zake shughuli zake zingine. So or maybe I watch ball kitu kaa hiyo. So I don't know, but it's like he just venye mtu anataka anakuongelesha tu haraka haraka just to get over it na aondoke aende, and yes, that's how I perceived it. So whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but that is how I viewed it. Thank you.
Revolutionary.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Leo?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Revolutionary.
I'm glad to hear everyone. I actually like what both Black said and Eli said. We should focus on what somebody's saying rather than the fluff. So to Mzalendo, I was making fun of you that you took Muguka. I didn't think you'll take offense, but I'll take it back. So hopefully hopefully you heal from that.
No. I mean,
men don't ask for forgiveness.
for me, you're my brother. I know that was on a light note, And I was
Yeah.
getting to your throat. So maybe if I get you, I'll get to shave some of your hair, you know.
Anyway, my main can you hear me, Leo, or anyone else? I mean,
We can hear you, though not that clear, but we can struggle to hear you.
okay. The point I was trying to make is this regarding the factories, whether it's Chemelil, Mumias, what's the other one? Muhoroni factories. If you nationalize it, I know there's this, and it's true that our factories, our parastatals, let me just use that, state-owned, run corporations don't do well. But the problem, if it's not, if a factory or a corporation is being is not being run well, the answer is not necessarily that we should privatize it. It's just the same thing if you are to walk in a factory or you want to unataka kuninio invest in something, let's say buy a factory. I'm just using that as an example. You'll see why this factory is not produced, why the production is not high, why you're not making profits, whether it's the employees who are, lazy or whatever the case. Then you fix that. The reason why I advocate for these factories to remain, government run is because, number one, it benefits the people. If Chemelil is run properly, okay, every person that's working there has a stake in it. Yes, it might not be direct as a corporation, but yes, you do, because the profits that comes from that will help, like the very things Black was telling me, can help. You're paying taxes to the county, paying taxes to the national government. You can use that money, the profits, to build roads, build schools, and all this wonderful stuff that you want to do, okay? Because everyone that works there is a part owner, okay? Now, the reason why I say corporations are not the best thing, sugarcane is a cash crop, okay? It makes money, it helps us, whatever the case is. Corporations are in business for one main reason: profits over everything, okay? They are looking after their own interest. If I buy Mumia's sugar today to run it, yes, I might be efficient and all that, but guess who's going to decide what is being done with the profits? Me, and maybe some shareholders a few shareholders who are running that factory, okay? So I might be efficient and all that, but guess what? I'm not going to use my money to build a school. I'm going to buy the next private jet that Ruto used to go to the USA. That's what I'll be doing with my money, not investing to the people. But if it is government run, the people have a say in what it should be done. That's why I'm saying, that's why you see the first thing that leader of Burkina Faso, when he took over, became the Traore. He nationalized even the latest one, the uranium factories and the gold whatever, where he said the gold shall not be transported in France. They shall do it there in Africa, there in Ineo, so it benefits the people there in their country. Nationalize everything. The same thing with the Congo leader who was killed. What's his name? Lumumba. The first thing that he did when the French were kicked out, he said, I shall nationalize whatever, the copper mines, everything, nationalize it so it benefits the people. The people have a say on what he has to do. If you privatize it, the private corporations, guess who's going to buy it? Wale watu wa koloni. They come back as the investors, the colonizers. They don't come up as colonizers. They invest it privately, and the profits, they ship it out of the country. That's why you see. So, in summation, just because it is being run poorly and it's government owned does not mean that the government can improve in that. The government can actually do something. That's why I'm against Ruto saying, oh, in order for it to be efficient, let's privatize it. That's not the way to go. But anyway, that's the main point I wanted to make. Regarding Ruto giving his speech today, I didn't listen to the speech. I think everyone here pretty much agrees that Ruto has lost the plot. Anything he says is not going to be something that will help Kenyans. It's just he's totally sold out to the West. So I'm not expecting anything meaningful or useful to the thing. And the same thing with the opposition. You saw Wandai was cheesing it up with Ruto. In fact, Wandai traveled with Ruto to US and they were cheesing it up. That's a topic for another day. I'll let anybody else speak. Thank you.
Yes, Bwana Leo.
Thank you, Kenya Revolutionary. I think you've made your point hard. Unless somebody maybe wants to respond to it. Black sijui nataka kusema nini?
Yes, thank you, Leo, for giving me the opportunity to respond. I want to disagree partly with our brother Kenya Revolutionary on the issue of just practically nationalizing anything and everything. You know, some things just look good on paper, but in actual, it's totally different. It matters to do with the outcome of it. You should understand that the factories are not being sold; they are being leased. You know, there's a difference between leasing something and selling something. So maybe that's a term that perhaps my brother is not aware of. Leasing kwa Kiswahili ni kama kukodisha. So basically the government is sort of, you know, anakodishia private investor ile kiwanda, not selling it. Akitumia kwa muda, then after some time it still belongs to the government. Understand that? So it's not sold, it's just being leased. That is one, right? So when it talks about foreign investors coming in, bringing in their money, then going out away with the money, you should understand that if the private investor would come in, and let's say they make $1 billion shillings profit, then 30% corporate tax would mean 300 million of that 1 billion would remain in the country, right? So
Not necessarily.
when you look at it holistically, it is. I mean, it is. That's how it is. Umekodisha becomes a private entity for that time which is being in operation. If let's say the government will lease it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, then it will be owned for those 30 years or 10 years, or that duration of the time which the investor would have leased it. He'll be operating it as a private entity. So he's supposed to be paying the taxes that are supposed to be paid by any private investor, unless he's exempted for doing that by the government for some special reasons, which I have none of that information. So he will pay up the taxes. So 30% is upfront for sure. So if he's made $1 billion shillings profit for that year, then 300 million of that 1 billion will remain in Kenya, right? So it's a plus.
No,
it's a plus either way when you look at it.
Okay, let me disagree with you respectfully.
Now, no, please explain.
Okay, let's just use a car for example. If I lease a car, okay, from whatever, and I use it to do business, transport people, whatever. I'm using it to beba watu na wananilipa, whatever the case, for Uber, whatever the case is. Do you use that profits that you get from that, using that car to pay I mean, you've leased it, you pay them, but the profits that you make after you've paid them, that's whatever the leasing fee for the next 2 days or 3 days, 1 week, the profits that you make of that, do you share that profit with the owner of the car, the real owner of the car? Black, are you there? Am I audible?
Saying, listen, I'm sorry, because the unmute. Your understanding is slightly different here. Let me try to be polite. The car owner which unajaribu kuongelea now, this is a private individual. So a private individual who owns the car has leased you the car. There's no way you can share the profits with him, right? But now here comes this factory is owned by the government, right? Hata ingelikuwa haikuwa owned by the government, still this person would the person who's leased this factory would still have to pay the corporate tax, the 30%, isn't it?
Black, can I make my point real quick? I lost my audio. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I was just answering your question. That's it.
Okay, what I'm saying is this: if the government owns the factory, okay, yes, the profits that's made, number one, the profits that's made from that factory stays with, it's a Kenyan profit. It can profit the county, profit the national government, and all that stuff. Okay. Now, even if they lease it, what do you get it by lease it? I'm just going to use it, okay? I'm paying my taxes. I'm your 30% unasema hiyo upfront, whatever the case is. But the profits that I get from this product that you guys, that I'm uprooting from the country called Kenya, I can use it in Monaco or Ireland, whatever, US. It's not going to benefit the Kenyan people. I get to decide where that profit will be used. But if we own it as a country, the profit alone is ours. Before wachana tax is part of expenditure. Hiyo tushalipa. Profits is the extra. You get what I'm saying?
You know.
So whether I'm leasing or as far as whether I'm leasing or buying it, it's better off 100% ownership by the country. Leasing it,
yes, true.
That's what I'm saying.
True that it would be best. That's what I was saying. On paper, some things look good, and on paper, that's how it means it will look good. But in actual reality, for the past 1 million years, none of these these corporate entities like those factories, they have not been working, right?
Yeah,
This government entities, not corporate entities. These government entities, they have not been working. They have been non-profit. Listen, they have not been making profit. We've always been we've all, for whatever we know the reasons, but the fact here remains is, we're looking at it from a financial point of it. As to why, we already know. Why we've never been able to fix these whys, which already the reasons why they have been failing, I don't know. But we can't keep on funding them, right? What's the point of funding them when we already know the outcome?
Because
each year, each president that comes in from kutoka Moi mpaka sahi, they would come in and say, okay, tunafufua hichi kiwanda, tunatoa 20 billion or 50 billion or 10 billion tukifufua. Same story happens in the next regime comes in, tutapeana 20 billion, 30 billion kufufua hichi kiwanda. Nothing happens. The next regime comes in, Uhuru comes in, I'm giving 20 billion or this number of billions kufufua hichi kiwanda. Same story repeats again. No, I mean, so vitu vingine lazima to reason
okay.
to reason pamoja kama Kenya, that we cannot keep doing that.
Black, very quickly.
So kama itusaidii
very quickly, so others
what
can
we
chime in. Black, very quickly. All I'm saying is this: that you can do things differently. You don't come in and say, "Oh, Mumias hasn't been working for 25 years. Let's give it to private sector." What I'm saying is this: I'll say, if I was Ruto or whoever, I'll say, listen, we are going to invest 20 million, whatever the billions is needed to inject some in that company, and I will have expectations, just like you rightly say the private sector does their business. Okay, I put 20 million here, Nasema, I have expectations. So if it means I have to change whoever is working there, the manager, whoever, I want to see production. I have expectations. I'm not putting 20 million and expecting, Atita fail. That's what I'm saying. Historically, since Moi and whoever you've said, these guys, they haven't even Atawaki invest. Number one, I don't think even Moi invested in much of these factories. And if they did, where was the follow-up? If I'm using 20, that's what I'm saying. This falls back to us. We have to demand more from the government because we own them. If it's a government thing, we own them. So if they are given 20 million of our money, we should say that, hey, listen, this thing we should look at it. Why is it not working? Ni magendo, ni nini, whatever. That's what I'm saying. Instead of giving it to a private sector who will, of course, will come with efficiency, but the profits will not come to us. It will come to them. That's all my point I'm saying. Thank you.
And then revolutionary.
Acha niachie because I think it's very hard kuelewa.
Okay.
Kenya Revolutionary. Wacha nikusaidie hapo kidogo. Huyu jamaa huyu black. We need to help him. I don't think that Ruto was not behind some of the rot that was
Boniface, ulipotea? Boniface hata simuoni hapa.
Okay, Leo.
Yes.
I'm just making a point here.
Okay, make the point.
I was just saying that this Mr. Ruto was one of the disasters that became off of state companies, these so-called parastatals. Because in Moi's economy, a lot of money that were used in so-called Arambes and things like that came from political individuals like Ruto, who basically siphoned the money from state companies. It is a fact that most of the state companies gave money to
Sorry to cut you through. Eli, ongeza sauti kidogo sikusikii.
Ongeza sauti kidogo like.
What I'm saying is Ruto was one of the cartels during Moi's regime that siphoned money from state companies. These ones that he's saying that are making no profit. Okay? So a lot of people may not want to admit that is the reality. For example, Zalendo was just checked out because they know that that is the reality, that Ruto was one of those people who were behind the politicization of state companies, which now he's attacking. Okay? So when I hear Kenya Revolutionary trying to give a sensible response there, which is being dismissed by Black, using false economics, but we know that the political situation during Moi's era, Ruto was one of those people. These people were siphoning baskets of money from state companies. Most of these state officers, including William Ruto, during President Moi's regime. So I'm talking in terms of history, which is dismissed by none other than Mr. Ruto, because he said himself that he has not time for history. He knows why. He best knows why. Number two, I wanted to speak about the American ambassador. I can't remember her name, but she was the CEO of eBay. In fact, she made eBay what it is now by multiplying its corporate profits a million times. I mean, whichever way she changed eBay from nothing to being a vast economic investor in the cyber world. She is the current American ambassador to Nairobi, and it's known that she's a serious investor, and she has private sector interests all over the world. And these are the types of people that Ruto is interested in, because they have personal, economic, and political interest in what's happening in Africa. And this is how we should understand the context of Kenyan leadership, because it is only supported by individuals from abroad who have serious interests in Kenya. Not small money. I'm talking about big money investment. If you look at the sterling career, if you like, of the current American ambassador in Kenya, and you will see why she is always backing this particular regime. Because for Ruto, it's money, money, money. There's no social capital in Ruto's way of thinking. So that's just my contribution to this debate about whether we have, whether we kill state companies so that private capital can reverse the, the fall of these companies. These companies historically have fallen because of the behavior of politicians during Moi regime. Thereafter, these companies are politicized. The money, if any profits were coming into the pockets of Kanu bigwigs like William Ruto, and it's a fact. Anyone who is sitting here with know that history is really looking at this as Kenya, the politics of this country. So I just wanted to give a historical perspective to what happened to parastatal organizations which are now being sold off. I do not support the state giving money willy-nilly to parastatal organizations. No, everything should be rationalized. Why? That is the question. Because if they're not making profits, then things have to be reviewed. But we have to look at the history of why these organizations are where they are. William Ruto is one of the kingpins of the corruption of the time of the Moi era that snatched off all those monies from the political economy of parastatals and the effect it has on those same companies now. He can't run away from it because he knows that he was part of that cartel. It's a fact that we cannot deny. Again, thank you very much for giving me time to bash Mr. Ruto. Thank you.
Just so that before he goes far, if you can allow me to tell you, just a second.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Black.
Mzalendo, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm saying,
And-
what Elias said and what Kanyarebo have said, I agree, and that's why I said on paper they look good. Why am I saying on paper they look good? Is the fact that we've been unable to do that. We know that is how the ideal situation is supposed to be. That is how corporations are supposed to be. State corporations are supposed to be managed. But unfortunately, that is not how we do it. Have we tried to fix it? We have tried, but fixing it, we've been digging even the hole far much deeper. You see, it's like we have cartels there, like Elias mentioned. Now, how do we go about this? Privatize it, lease it. Let's see if the cartels can go deal with whoever is it that would have leased it. Let's save our money as Kenyans. Our money means the government money, right? That's how I'm looking at it from the finance aspect of it.
all right, Black. Maybe if I can just come in and just add on what you said. And the analysis that Kenya Revolutionary gave. When you lease something, you already pay something to the government. Leasing something does not mean that you are given for free. Whatever amount that you're paid, somebody's mic is making a lot of noise. I think it's Leo. Whatever amount that you're paid is injected back to the factory, and again, the people will benefit from any of these transactions. Now, you need to understand how these parastatals were created in the first place. First, the government identifies the need in that particular community. Then they are created by an act of parliament and regulated by parliament. Some of the decisions, like you say, you bring in a new CEO, they have already a structure that they work within that was drafted in parliament. The board of directors who make decisions on behalf of the company are appointed by the government. The director is appointed by the president. So it is all these are political appointments. When you see the members of board that are in these all parastatals are appointees of the president. They serve at the pleasure of the ruling party at that particular time. When the party goes, if that board had got very good ideas, they are either reinstated or their contracts are not renewed. So that is what happens in these parastatals. But by and large, the parastatals in Kenya are not competitive. They are not modern. They are run like old institutions, and they cannot compete with productivity. They cannot compete with technology. That is why you bring in somebody who is looking at the profit margins, so that they can compete with the production, and they can compete with efficiency. The only reason why government controls this, first they failed in it. It was to regulate the sugarcane industry, and again to ensure that the prices are controlled. In all this, they failed. They cannot control the sugar industry. The same government officials are the ones who import the sugar into the country. And this is companies that are private. They import sugar into the country to meet the deficit. Now, even if the factories are running effectively, they cannot meet the demand of the Kenyan population as in regard of our consumption. So consumption is paramount, and consumption cannot be met by injecting money to government-appointed officials who are going to run down the factory. Whether it is good for the people of Western Province, the government of the day should think twice and tell the people directly that, hey, look here, if I bring investor A, this is what they are going to do to this factory. You still remain shareholders of this factory. You still remain a part of it. We, as the government, still own part of the share, but this guy is going to buy so much share, and so much profit is still going to remain in the country. That is how you bring in efficiency. Look at
Mzalendo,
where
that is
you
not
are.
correct. I will
It
have
is
to correct you, please.
correct me. Yeah, correct me where.
Thank you. Okay, I'll give you two scenarios, okay? Your submission assumes that just the mere fact that it's the company is owned by government, that it cannot be revolutionized and made modern to a point where it increases in production and in effectiveness. Okay, the same people. Let me tell you something. What I'm saying is this: the same people who are in the private sector can be hired to work for a government-run institution or corporation. Let me just use that.
Let me just correct you as we move on.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold your horses. I'm saying this. The reason why I'm advocating for the government to run it is because of this. If a government-owned corporation, we the people, taxpayers, who are funding the money that has been injected to revolutionize the equipment, to increase production and the effectiveness of whatever the case is, we can have a say and say, hey, listen, this is not happening. Let's fire that manager. Our workers are not being paid enough money. Let's pay them more. Okay, we have a more say than that. Now, if we privatize it, okay, you have no say. The owner Guess they're going by their policies. Okay, why do you think these Chinese are wanna chapa watu and the government is not saying anything? Okay, so what I'm saying is this: if you have a government, the same thing, those people who are the government should employ people who are just as qualified, like the person who's coming in. Ndio maana nasema our politicians are failing us. We know what's wrong, but we don't want to do what's right. Okay, that's why you see people that wanafanya hivi. Now, here's the case, the two scenarios that I want you to consider. The reason why they privatize these things, and I'll just use this as an example. Okay, this Ruto is saying Mumias is not making money, so we should privatize it. Ruto gives it to, I'll just use his name for the sake of it, Mkarabati Oscar Sudi. Okay, Oscar Sudi or Oscar Sudi's friend. Mkarabati anakuja ananunua hii kampuni Mumias Sugar. It's a private run okay, it becomes efficient, but guess the profits ya hiyo Mumias Sugar inaenda wapi? Inaenda kwa Mkarabati, and maybe probably Ruto gets his percentage, okay? And they do whatever they want with the profits. Rather than let's do it right, get qualified people, bring it up to increase the productivity, it becomes efficient. The profits that we get is Kenyan profit, where we use it to fund these things that Ruto wants to fund. We shouldn't be spending we shouldn't have a proposed 3.9 trillion budget if our factories are working. These factories can produce, and to your last point where you say that the sugar that we produce is not enough to meet our consumption. That's not true. And go listen to Cheragay. He said it in Spice FM a year ago. These guys were told by the IMF that they can only produce to a certain point, okay? And the rest is import. Why are we importing maize? We have enough land where we can, Rift Valley can produce enough, to feed the whole country. But it's done by design because they want you to import stuff. So that's the point I was trying to make. It's better off we have our own profits. Let's not just assume that just because it's government run, because it has been that way, we can't do it differently. But I get to the point where Ogola was making, which was a bigger point, that it is because of the corruption, the people who Ruto has been involved in this, and that's why we don't expect him to actually bring this kind of change that we are advocating for. But it can be done. That's what I'm saying. Selling it or releasing it is not going to benefit Kenyan people. Only a few shareholders. Where as a worker, go ask somebody who works in Mumias. Are they getting enough paid if it becomes profitable? Why are those workers being Chapona Chinese? And
okay. You gave a very orthodox example of the Chinese contractors who don't have a parastatal that they are running, but they are only being contracted to by the government through a tender that they won to construct whatever they are constructing. Whether they are beating Kenyans, that is illegal, and you've seen most of them facing the law. And Kenyans also fight back when they are hit by these Chinese, which is a good thing to me. Now, where you get it again all wrong, private entities or private firms are paying more than the government. When you work on a private farm, most of the time they attract better employees because the salaries are good. All right, so the services, so that kind of salary can only be through a company that is run privately.
The government can do the same thing if they are
the government properly. They look at the wage bill right now. They are complaining about the money. They are complaining about, now if you want things to go just like a black has told you, these things are very, very good theoretically the way you are saying it, but first they have to go through parliament. These factories are just not created by Ruto issuing an executive order that, you know, create this factory like this. Community also has to be involved in some of the decisions. I have told you that most of these parastatals in some regions like in Mombasa, they wanted a local to be the head of KPA. This local is not qualified. How do you deal with that? So this is now where the problem is. The board are political appointments. How do you deal with that with a corrupt society like Kenya? So it needs a whole kind of thinking to first get rid of corrupt individuals in government, elect a government that is pro industries and pro the people. So
Mzalendo,
that,
what you're doing
yeah.
is privatizing corruption. That's basically what you're saying. We agree that there's corruption. That we can agree. But I'm saying this, making it private, you're basically privatizing corruption. But I'm saying this, why give that a good industry that we have that's a cash crop that we can process and employs people and get profits from that will benefit us, and we can have a say.
Kenya Revolutionary, even the amount of people that the government will employ is less than the amount of people that the private company will employ in order to increase productivity.
What are you basing that on?
The kind of salaries that they will pay is competitive in the market. It will attract the best in the market, so that farmer does not work in the factory. That farmer depends on a factory that is running, and at the end of the day, he gets money from that factory. But if he brings his sugarcane to a factory that is not grinding, because the government cannot, the parastatal cannot hire an engineer who is probably working with Safaricom, and they cannot meet to pay this guy 500 or 600,000 a month. No factory will hire.
No,
they will bring one of their own.
Mzalendo,
yeah. Yes.
Why cannot? Okay, listen to me. If we inject money to these factories, why can't we get that engineer from Safaricom, offer him that money to bring his skill set to help improve production in this factory to a point where we can increase in profit margins that can actually help people? What I'm saying is this. It's the same
now,
people. No,
go to parliament, change the laws, change the laws again about the operations of that factory.
It doesn't have to listen to me. It doesn't have to.
You have to,
listen.
Because the Salaries and Remuneration Commission are the ones who create salaries for the board of governors, for the directors who are employed in these parastatals. It is not. It is something that has to be done through parliament.
Okay, listen. So that's okay. Even if it's for parliament, okay. Now I'm saying this: if the government, even if it goes through the parliament, okay, somebody comes in and say, let's say, okay, Omtata is from Busia, Mumias. Let me just use that for the whatever. He says we have a factory here. Let's inject this amount of money, and in all that money, it will also come, because that money will also be used as part of using salary and whatever. And we can have incentives where if production goes up, okay, there may be bonus, whatever, or you'll get, you see what I'm saying? You can
there are bonuses, yes.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is this. We can have a structure of which deals with performance, okay? But here's the thing. What is lacking in Kenya? Number one, you say is corruption. Number two, no one is following up. They're giving this 20 million to these Mumias. In Daivo, there's no production, there's anything, nothing is coming back because kila mtu anakula hiyo pesa or whatever the case is, and they're underperforming. So Ruto is saying we privatize, and I'm not saying that, and I'm saying we cannot privatize. The problem should be dealt with, whether it's these people who are ineffective, these managers, this whole thing. If we have to go to the parliament, we can go to the parliament, but something has to be changed how we run things. Why is it that these people, when they work in government, they don't perform well, but when they go to private sector, they do well?
All right. I want to give you an example of the current CEO for Safaricom. Do you know where he used to work?
No.
Do you know how much he's earning right now at Safaricom? He's earning a lot of money. Can you tell this guy to, okay, fine. This is the salary for the MD for Mumia's Sugar Factory. It is way under 500,000. Then he leaves his job that is earning probably 2.5 million a month, and so many other benefits. Do you think that this guy, since he's appointed by since he saw a job in advertised in the newspaper, he can apply for this particular job.
No, he won't. But not all CEOs shall reject the job. That's what qualified CEOs.
Yes, you will attract CEOs within your range, within CEOs who are earning less. They could be good, they could be bad, but most of the time, if you see they are not running an international company or a company that is working, companies are judged by profitability. So
Yes.
if this company is has been profitable, like for example, why don't you think that why can't Kenya Airways approach the Ethiopian airline and give that guy who runs Ethiopian airline double his salary and come to help us rescue KQ?
Mzalendo, the point I'm trying to make this as we rest this, Ninio, I want everybody else to come in this, Ninio. What I'm saying is this. There are qualified people who can work in these government-run factories. The problem is, when these factories are given money, as I see it, inaenda hivyo ni kama unaitupa kwa shimo. There's no accountability. The same thing we say about politicians, the same thing we do with everything. There's no accountability. The difference between private sector and the government sector in the Kenyan context, okay, is that private sector, if you mess up, you get unachujwa, okay? And when I come to mwengine, they pay you more. There's incentives. And I'm saying this, these people are just as qualified. There are people who are just as qualified like the people who are in private sector. So why can't you apply the same thing? We have the same accountability, where these people, when we work tukiwaeka Mumias Sugar ama Chemelil ama Muhoroni, okay? Tunasema tutakupatia 20 mil in this company, we pay you this salary, okay? But we have expectation. Na tutafuatilia. We see how every quarter is their production imeenda juu. The workers, are they working? That way, we Kenyan people, sisi wananchi, we have a say, kila mtu, because it's government money that has been injected there. So if the CEO is not working, we tell the members of parliament, hey, we are not making profits. And those profits can be shared. That's what I'm saying. Instead of giving a private Safaricom, they make 10 billion, whatever the case is, but they won't share it with you. It will
Kenya revolutionary. Today, if you go to the stock markets, when Mumias was running, you'll see Mumias shares there. You can buy them and own any amount of shares that you want in Mumias sugar factory. If you are in the first world, tell me how many factories in the U.S. government are owned by the U.S. government that you know of?
That I know of.
Yeah, tell me a factory that you know, or a corporation that you know that is run by the U.S. government.
Not so many, but there's a difference.
Do you think they're dumb?
Listen, but listen to me. Here's the difference. You've had people who have worked with the government, let's say whether it's Pentagon or whatever, they will tell you this: I would rather work for the government than work for corporation. You know why? Can I tell you why? The salary might not be high, but the benefits that you get is better than a corporation. Am I lying or not?
Yeah, you mentioned Pentagon, which is an equivalent of maybe working in the services like Kenya.
Okay, even if you're working BMV at BMV, making $25.
Yeah, if you're working in DAV is an equivalent of working at NTSA. So what, in NTSA on motor vehicle. You see this.
The point I'm making, Zelendo, listen to me. The point I'm making that you're missing is this:
you are not producing anything at the DMV.
What do you mean? I'm producing services. I'm giving services.
You are not producing. You are not a factory. People are bringing in money for you. You only need the structure to manage it properly, so that the money keeps on coming in and accounting for it, accountability. But I am telling you of a factory.
Listen, Zalendo, you're not making a distinction. This is a service-based industry. The BMV is. Okay, it's run as a factory. Like somebody can go to a county There are some counties who have actually they've wamepatiana hiyo tender ya kufanya hiyo kazi ya BMV, where it's a private corporation that's working for the BMV. So what I'm trying to say is this BMV is a service based. They're not producing anything, yes, but they're producing a service, okay, to the wananchi, okay?
Yeah,
so,
and you also agree with me
concept,
that the DMV have also outsourced private companies,
right,
to help them run
okay.
the DMV.
Okay, yes, I have said that, but I'm saying this. What I'm saying is this: what is done in the private, the private sector, the house private sector is run, can be done the same thing the government can do, the same thing as far as efficiency and production level. Now, I used BMV, they're service-based, they're not producing anything, but I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is this, to make that greater point on Kenya. We can produce effectively, we can produce much more that we are producing as far as sugar is concerned. We can produce livable wages for the people who work in the government, whether it's the people watu wa mkono huko chini or the CEOs. It doesn't have to be like the money that Nani is making, the owner of Amazon, but it's something that is livable, that people can actually livable wages or livable salary. And we can have a production that's high enough to serve the people of Kenya. Meanwhile, we are enjoying the profits by using those profits to build roads and services and hospitals and everything else, and to balance our budget. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, if you privatize those things, you give it to the private sector, they will make profits, but they will not share their profits with you. That's the point I'm trying to make. So we are better off having our own factories where we have a say in it, okay, and we have we can vote in whatever. That's the point I'm making. I hope I'm clear. I'll leave it there so Black and everybody else can join.
Let somebody else. We've been really.
Unajua muna
Oh, Black.
Munabishania or rather debating on almost similar points, but the issue is, Kenya Rebel, you're arguing from a point of the ideal world, how things would be if they are managed in a certain way, which, yes, you are right, and how we ought to do things to turn things around, which you are again right. But unfortunately, history has judged us opposite. You understand? Whether it is by the fact that the way Eli likes saying we are a corrupt society, don't know. Whether it's by the fact that we have individuals that have personal interests, which should be translated to being greedy at the expense of Kenyans, I don't know. But the fact remains is, reality, it's been difficult for the government to manage these government entities like the factories, because the sugar factories is what we are talking about. Then basically, let's cut our losses, if I can use that term. Let's cut our losses and have someone else put in their money. Let's not put our government money into a factory where we keep losing money. We make losses all through. At the end of the day, even the farmers are not being paid. How much billions zimekuanga farmers wanafaa kulipwa for the sugar which they deliver to the factories, and they are not paid? A lot. So what's the use? Because at the end of the day, the farmer is not being helped. We know what the government, rather the factories are supposed to be doing, what the managements are supposed to be doing, but they are not doing that. Safadhali tukate tu hiyo hasara yetu. Let's use our money elsewhere. Let someone else, let's say you, Kenya Rebel, or Eli, or Zalendo, or anyone else that's interested, let them come bring their money and invest into the factory. Because that it would mean that they would have their own management that would ensure that the factory goes back to profit-making ways. right? Because hakuna mtu atakuja kuweka pesa yake hapo atake kuona hasara. But if anything to go by, all these years things have been bad, then I don't see any reason for us to keep the factories. Wacha tupatiane private investor atengeneze profit, atulipe tax, aandike watu wetu kazi, alipe wakulima pesa ya mazao yao, and that's it. We move forward.
So Black
In the
nikuulize swali.
process,
Can I ask you a question?
in the process, if he runs the factory well, the farmers get paid well, they'll be encouraged to increase their production, right? Right now Kenya tunahitaji around 1.1 million metric tons of sugar, but we currently are making around 790 to about 800 million metric tons of sugar, which means tuko na kama deficit ya so tatu 300,000 metric tons of sugar, which leo napatanga mara nyingi we end up importing sugar, tunasema ni duty free, so that we can make up for the deficit. But if this deficit, a private investor would come in, and by the fact that atakuwa anaendesha kampuni yake vizuri, analipa wakulima vizuri, I don't think kwamba kutakosa Wakenya ambao they would like to also venture into sugarcane farming, and those existing would want to increase the acreage or the size of their farms, and from that 790,000 metric tons ambao they are currently producing, maybe they will increase their farmland to sugarcane, ikuwe kubwa zaidi, ikave hiyo deficit, ikuwe sasa sisi wenyewe tunalima sugarcane ya kutosha na tuna nini na tunajitosheleza. That is my point. So that's how I look at it. Thank you. Yes, I hope I've made myself clear on that.
Very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Black, the reason why I keep on saying nationalizing factories, especially for cash crops like sugarcane, is for the very reason you are giving. I'm saying if the government does that, you just gave a good point. Farmers wataninio pata kupeleka ninio yao, production can go up, we don't have to import sugar, and if you don't have to import sugar, and we have enough ninio sugar factories, Mgoroni, Chembelel, whatever the case, Mumias, bei ninio sugar itaenda chini, okay? Now, if you bring a private investor, okay, you privatize it, akuje, andike wafanyakazi wake, whatever, guess what? Most likely, ninyo ya sugar itaenda juu, because he'll say, okay, you know what? I came here, I invested my money, nikatumia, I brought my tools, whatever. So he'll bring it up, okay? So that's one of the disadvantages of this. What if ukaleta somebody from England, an English farm, or American farm, or whatever, wanunue hiyo sugar, whatever factory, I want to kuweka profit margins yao juu. So it will affect the pricing. So my argument is, why can't we make our own factories efficient enough and give the very benefits that you're talking about, okay? Where we make it effective. And I know you're saying this is an ideal whatever, which, okay, it's an ideal scenario that I'm giving, but why can't we fight for what's ideal for us? These are our factories. Why can't we fight for our rights? What were Mumias? They want it on there because it will bring employment in the in Mumias. Okay, Chemelil will be employed. People will be employed. Okay, with reasonable wages. Why can't they demand for that? Because if you privatize it, you'll have no say in whatever is going on there. Okay, on the profits, you won't have no say. Hata mkifanywa nini huko mnachapwa kazini, you won't. We know Atwoli won't do anything. So yes, I'm giving an ideal scenario, but that's how it's supposed to work. So we should fight for that kind of that kind of system to work, not to sit back and say, let's cut our losses, tupatie private investor while we can actually use something that can help us economically, help our people in the counties, national government, and bring people, a lot of people in the up in the social economic ladder. That's all I'm making. That's all the point I'm making. Thank you.
Kenya Rebel. When you have a private investor, right? As it is right now, what do you think the first thing they will do? If anything, they would change the overall setup of how the operations are done. They will do a complete overhaul of the machines that are being used there. They'll probably do a complete overhaul of the top management level. They'll do a whole complete overhaul of almost everything to ensure that whatever they put as replacement would be giving the most efficient of services, the efficient and improved productivity that would cost less in regards to cost of doing business, and that would mean they would be in a position to also offer their overall product in the highest possible quality, in the most efficient way, and in the most importantly cost efficient way, which would mean, as it is right now, by the use of the obsolete machines that the factories are using now, was tunatumia technology ya zamani, the cost of production is high, and that's why it translates to the eventual retail price of that product onto the supermarket shelf inakuanga juu, because they've spent a lot in producing that sugar. A private investor comes in, they would do the opposite of that. They would not use these obsolete machineries that are present in that factory or in those factories. They would want to bring the latest machinery into those factories at their own expenses, not the government expense. That would mean it would reduce the overall cost of production. That said, would also reduce the overall selling price of that product. That would also mean that Kenyans can purchase or consume Kenyan sugar, Kenyan made sugar. Wacha hizi ambazo zinatokanga nje zikiwa expensive. It will be competitive. No one will even want to go import sugar from outside. And from the deficit, I've already explained as to how it will be covered. Because by the fact that these sugar companies will be paying the farmers on time, it would encourage the farmers waongeze kilimo on a larger tracts of land. So over this 300,000 metric tons ambayo inakuanga shortage yetu itapungua, so it will all be made in Kenya by Kenya and consumed by Kenya.
Black, one question: what is stopping?
Yes.
What is stopping the government, we the people who own Chemelil or Mumias? What is stopping you from bringing these new gadgets, new to revolutionize this so we can have higher production? What is stopping us?
And that's why I was saying, now you're taking us back to the ideal world, za kina Barbie world. Kama una watoto wadogo unakuanga na hii doli za Barbie.
No.
Mzalendo. If you have children, if you have a daughter, unajuanga kuanga na hizi Barbie dolls hizi. Unaonanga in an ideal world. So just to answer your question, what is stopping? Of course, like I earlier explained, and earlier tried to talk about, we have cartels, we have different regimes that come in with different ideas, right? They're placing their people there in those in the boards for their own personal reasons. Whether they are for the good of Kenyans, we don't know. But most, judging from the outcomes in the past, it was never been for the good of Kenyans. Now our president has decided to cut the losses. Hey, you know what? We can't keep doing this anymore. You know what? Let's just lease these factories. Finish. Wacha mtu mwingine akujeke pesa yake. Wacha tusicheze na pesa yetu sasa. Wacha pesa yetu tuweke kwa kitu kingine. Shida iko wapi? Until the time we decide to realize that, okay, it is best that we manage our own assets. At that point then tutaacha kulease, tuanze kushughulikia wenyewe. Sio? That's how I do it.
So the difference between sasa hapo ndio uona maoni yangu is different from yours. Wona ita ideal world. Okay, it's ideal world. But shouldn't we fight for what's ideal? Isn't that all the
Look,
whole new? Come on, you've said very you very made a good point. Luka mentioned Vile Eliel made the point that our cartel and all this stuff, right? Sour, that's a good point, and I agree with him and I agree with you. But does that mean we should continue? Okay, this thing has not been working for the past 20 years, cartel wananinio, so let's lease it because that will be better. I mean, that's basically what you're telling me. But I'm saying this, mina sema hivi. No, we should not give it to the cartels. You cut our losses kwa sababu cartels have been involved in this. What I'm saying is we should be fighting for what is ours. This is a factory that's a national factory. It's for the people, taxpayers' money. Why can't we make it work so it can benefit us than to say to use it to release to party mtu mwingine who will be making billions of it, while this can help us and bring our revenue up? That's basically the fundamental differences between me and you.
But tumejaribu tumeshindwa. Now let me ask you, how can we fight it? Let me ask you, we failed since kutoka enzi za Moi, za Kibaki, za Uhuru, na tumefika sahi. And you want us to keep on doing this? We have been bailing out these farms, or rather these factories, by writing off their debts. Writing off completely, be into billions, written off. Again, they incur debts. We write them off. They incur debts. We write them off. The current parliament also have agreed to write off, I think, around 70 billion worth of debts. Again, I mean, come on.
So
that's too much.
So there's no other way we can go around it but just to privatize it.
In the ideal world, we should have been doing it the way you said. But unfortunately, in the real world, it's proved to be almost an impossible task, if not difficult task.
Okay, so by that, okay.
For that, not that I advocate for us to not do anything, but since we are at this point, unable to do so.
Okay.
What is the immediate? What's the immediate fix we can put into this?
Fair
That's
point.
The leasing part. The leasing.
Fair point. Minta sema hivi, and I will maintain it as I close up with this. We should not give up on our government-owned factories, regardless of whether historia. This is a fight. This is the part of the struggle that we are fighting for a better Kenya. And most of it is economics. And why we are not doing well economically is because of the very reasons that you rightfully, wonderfully made that point, you and Ellie, saying corruption, and all this stuff. It's all connected. So what I'm trying to say is that we people should advocate more so our parastatals are not privatized. Let's revitalize it. Let us claim it so we can actually get revenue from it, so we can benefit from them. That's all I'm saying. But
I'm asking you guys a question, since you have debated about this for a very long time. Why can't the farmers in Mumias or in Western region buy those factories? Mbona wasijinunulia, then they own them?
How can they buy that? I mean, even you, Zaled.
If the government puts the Mumias factory on sale, the locals come up. If they are,
let me ask you. I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Mumias sugar quoted in the stock control, in the stock market?
Yes, it used to be there.
Market.
It used to be there.
And what does that mean when it is quoted in the stock market?
It means that you can buy shares in Mumias.
Exactly. So it means that they have already tried to do that and it's not worked, right?
Yeah, it's not working right now because first I don't even think that the factory is working.
So you've answered you've answered the question which you've just asked.
You see, it's already as Mumias is right now, there are Kenyans who own shares in Mumias factory, Chemelil, and even Sony Sugar. The only sugar factory that is private in Kenya is Sukari Industries in Mbiwa, and that Sukari Industries is privately owned. Have you ever heard about it? if I just may ask in the panel, have you ever heard of sukari industry?
To be honest, I'm hearing it for the first time.
No.
Maybe perhaps
Exactly.
maybe sijaiketi chini kufuatilia. I
Exactly.
don't know about it.
Yeah, sukari industry is privately owned, and there's an investor who put his money there. And the farmers in that region take their factory, their produce to sukari industry, and they are paid. And they are paid. If the roads in that area are not good enough, you find that the sukari industry chips in and builds bridges and constructs roads. But the problem again with the investors coming in to invest in factories back at home is that there's always some politics in it. There's always some politics in it. Look at Dominion that this guy came and invested in Siaya. The locals and the political class brought a lot of problems with the Mzungu who had come to invest in the irrigation after building an hospital, building schools, was employing more than 4,000 people. So many people were getting tenders. If you go to CIA today, ask them if they need Dominion back, they will tell you they need it ASAP. But look at what the politicians did. Every time they had a function, they drive there with a canter or a lorry that they need rice to help the community. Rice is loaded into the factory, into the truck, inauzwa ama inasambazwa kwa political whatever or political sycophants or the politician. Same to Mumias, this money that you think that is being injected back to the factory, the same politicians go back and say, hey, kuna pesa kaliletwa hapa, tuko na hii shughuli na hii ABCD, mnaweza changia kama factory. The factory definitely has got a CSR, community social responsibility. They have to do something for the locals. That is why we had Mumias Football Club running so well when Kidero was there. Kidero also tried to, in Mumias, made sure that the Mumias factory did not pay for electricity. They were generating electricity, their own electricity within Mumias town. Coming from the factory. That was a plus. Then, if you get somebody who really knows what he wants to do with the factory, forget about the stealing, but what he wants to do, then you can get some good services. In an ideal situation, what we are telling Kenya Revolution.
Mzalendo, can I ask you a question? What's that metal that is used to make batteries? Yes, the cell phone. That is very famous in Congo.
Cobalt, inaitwa cobalt,
okay.
Cobalt, something
okay.
like that.
Okay.
That's stone.
Yes. Elon Musk is mining cobalt, whatever, of Congo. Okay, he's one of the biggest ambao wanatoa huko Congo. Why is Elon Musk not helping the Congo develop, build bridges, hospitals, and all that?
As much as Elon Musk is mining the cobalt in Congo, look at the political structure in this country called Congo. You'll find that maybe even the region where this mine is coming from is controlled by another rebel faction. And there's no organization in Congo. Congo is a very bad example to use because this is a country that is controlled by all, the Western countries just to mine everything that comes from Congo. But are there regulations that they are putting in right now? I saw a documentary that they are doing something about it. They walikuwa wamelalia masikio, but right now they have seen the benefit. You see, initially when these things were being mined from our soils in Africa, tulikuwa zuzu. Unajua mtu zuzu, accept that tulikuwa zuzu, ujui hii kitu itafanywa kazi gani. Juu hiyo hata hiyo simu huwezi itengeneza. Hata ukiwachiwa ufanya nayo kazi, hiyo factory wewe mwenyewe huna. So this world is global in such a way that we'd all depend on each other, be it mzungu ule akona hiyo factory na hii ana hii akili.
Okay.
You depend on him. Yeah.
Wacha nikupatie another example. We were here, in fact there's a day tulizungumza juu ya uranium in Burkina Faso vile was it a gram or whatever the case ya uranium ilikuwa inauzwa was it 7% from Burkina Faso, alafu once Burkina Faso waka took over the uranium production, now they're selling it to the French 200 per something gram or something, I don't know how many grams, whatever the case is. Okay. So what I'm trying to, the reason why I brought those two examples nakwambia hivi, if you control your industry, especially kama you manage to going back to sugar, especially sugar which is a cash crop, okay, mukirana vizuri inaweza kuwasaidia kwa kufanya hizo vitu mnataka kufanya, kama ni mashule ama vitu kadha. And that's why I gave example ya hiyo cobalt, okay? Elon Musk has enough money to even pay an army to secure a place where he's mining those places, and build hospital, build secure, to bring some level of peace in Kinshasa, okay, or whatever the case is, getting that in But why is he not doing that? Because and the point I'm making is this: the profits that private corporations make, it's for them. Wale watu walitoa pesa, and they don't care about Congo, okay? But kama Congo ingekuwa ina mine hiyo cobalt, alafu naambia Elon Musk, hey, we are dictating the price ya hii ninio, okay? We are dictating, ingewaletea do mob, and hizo do wanapata, they can do all these things that they want to do. That's the difference between corporate profits.
Sasa unajua ile ujanja wanafanya ile Waafrika nao wajui mpaka sahi. Do you know what they're doing right now? No. When you recycle your phone, each and every time you go to T-Mobile or AT&T, they tell you, if you have your old phone, you bring it back. You know, your old phone has a battery. Whether it is broken, whether you've seen those adverts, whether it is broken, whether it's what, we will take it back and recycle it back. Kitambo, you are destroying that phone, or unapatia mtu aenda I repair or something. Right now, they are recycling those phones. They are recycling that battery again, so they don't have to go to Congo or to where to get that cobalt.
No.
Just wait. Let me finish. Okay. They are looking at the future, because even as they mine this cobalt, there has to be a solution. At the end of it all, will there be sufficient cobalt from country inaitwaje, Burkina Faso or Zaire? Yeah, kuna time itaisha.
Ni kama unasema oil itaisha, but another example.
Oil, kwani oil kunafikiri itakuwa there forever?
Hold on.
Those wells are going to dry at some point.
Ngoja kidogo.
That's why America iko na reserve zake.
Listen to me. Nakupeleka pole pole. Do you know what started the Cuba revolution?
I'm not aware. Just tell me.
Ilianza na sugar cane. Cuba is one of the producing ya sugar cane kabisa. Wamerikani walitoa wale wa Spanish people kwa Cuba, because they wanted to take care of and part of the reason factories za sugar cane to control it. And the first thing nani alifanya vile alikuwa President Cuba Castro was to nationalize these things. Okay? The same thing ule jamaa walimua wa Chile, I forgot his name, lakini yeye yake ilikuwa si sugar cane, yake ilikuwa mafuta. Okay? So the point I'm trying to make is this: while this is producing factory ambazo zina produce vitu ambao we can benefit from, it's not smart for us to privatize them. They're better off in our hands to manage. Now, I get your point na nakubaliana nawe na Black na everybody else mkisema the system ambayo tuko nao ni ya majambazi, okay? Corruption na hizo mambo mengine. Ndio maana nasema that is not a reason to say let's just cut our losses kwa sababu kuna corruption, so nini to sell, kwa sababu hata tukiwapatia private ninio tukipatia hizo private ninio corporation, they'll run it na watalipa hiyo ushuru, na hiyo ushuru hatutaiona, wataikula.
Kwa hivyo tupeane tu pesa ikulwe kila mwaka, tupeane pesa ikulwe na tuendelee.
Sisemi ati pesa ipeanwe, nasema tufuatilie kama pesa itapewana hizi manini hizi mumia sugar whatever the case is. Sisi kama wananchi through our representatives, hata sisi tukijiunga kama wanamumias ama whatever the case is, we have to demand for answers. Hiyo pesa ilienda wapi? Vile uliona baraza lipelekwa pale spend 11 million for food in a year. Unaona? So what I'm trying to say is that we have to hold these people accountable, because that's why I started by saying, what is the difference between corporate world and the government run factories hapo Kenya? Ni corporate world kama Safaricom ina run kama machine, lakini tukiingia kwa government, people wanakula pesa na nini. But it can be changed. We can change that by demanding that these people be accountable, and I will not stop fighting for that, rather than giving up in these factories which can actually benefit us.
No, government just sells a portion of its shares to the private entity. Si ati wanauza hizo kitu ati all of it, just like they did with Kina Telecom and the rest, and so some private individuals coming to run telecom. It is not a big deal. The corporation is still there, but it's still ineffective, cannot compete with the modern technology. Yeah.
Why can't we use the technology on the government side? That's what you unasema modern technology.
Gava ina technology bwana. Gava wewe unaona hawezi lipa madaktari, hawezi toana pesa ya county, yani vitu zile bado wanakopesha pesa ya kutengeneza barabara, bado pesa ya county yenyewe inaibiwa huko kwa county, inaibwa, hakuna mtu anaenda anafungwa. Yeah.
So
pesa za tenda bado kuna tenderpreneurs, yani okay. There is the cancer in government, ni kitu you cannot eradicate it by just one stroke. It is gradual, yani it's something that, like the issue we are talking about Mumias, the solution we will find it probably 20 years to come. Not now.
And then kitu moja Kenya Ribe. Sorry to cut you short. Nilikuwa nataka tu kueleza, nilikuwa nanyamaza nipate nafasi niongee, but I just wanted to correct you something bwana Kenya Ribe, on the issue of cobalt. Number one, it is worth noting that the largest chunk of mines in DRC is owned by China. Sijui kama mnajua hivyo, because Kongo alichukuanga loan mingi kutoka China na collateral ilikuanga hizo minefields za Kongo, which kulipa imekuanga shida. So China typically controls mining fields bao za huko,
not all of it,
za Kongole, unaona mingi. Sasa kuhusu cobalt, Tesla baadaye amejaribu Musk amejaribu sana by kuensure magari zake zinatumia battery that does not use cobalt. Amejaribu not so long ago. They now use iron instead of cobalt, right? And they have also amejaribu kufanyanga audit, because I remember there was an issue alipokuwa watu wakisema kwamba ana magari na blood cobalt. Kulikuwa kuna hiyo story sana, hiyo campaign sana. So of course Musk ni mtu mwenye atakangi kuchukuliwa in a bad light. It's always for pro humanity, right? So and that's why he moved away from mambo ya cobalt to be using cobalt free batteries ambazo zinatumia sasa iron. And aside from that, pia jaribu kufanya audit of all his suppliers to make sure that the cobalt which they would be bringing in does not come from the mines where unapata kuna child labor. You understand? So just to speak on behalf to him because it's always best to speak the truth. I would defend him saying that no. Musk upande wa ninio wa cobalt is moved away by trying to ensure that the technologies cars use are cobalt-free batteries, and from the little cobalt that would come to Tesla, he has a way of now auditing the suppliers to ensure that those cobalt do not come from mines that have child labor. And that's a plus. If all other world producers would do the same, then it would go a long way. But I would defend Elon Musk on that. He's done great by those two things. Improving technology to ensure we don't have to ensure that he has cobalt-free batteries, na hiyo ya pili ku audit suppliers.
Thank you, Black Asante Sana, for that elaborate. I think we've had a very good debate today. We have touched on most of the issues that we have seen on affecting our people, and again, we have touched on the future of these factories that the government keeps on pumping a lot of money, yet we don't see any results. Eli, you've been quiet for a while. Can you say something, even as we wind up? Mr. Gola inakaa ameenda kulala. I think Black, maybe hii story ya Gachagua kidogo uniambie, unaonaje hii story ya Gachagua hii ya 2-minute speech? Hatujaguzia sana hii story.
I think jamaa alikuwa anataka tu kumaliza hiyo function haraka aende shughuli zake.
Lakini Gachagua ni mjeuri bwana.
Alikuwa anajua Bungoma na pake Nyeri ni mbali, so alikuwa katika hiyo maneno ishe haraka, anza safari ya kurudi home, aenda angalie game ya Real na Dortmund.
Real na .com 2 minutes record speech. But I kitu ile naona this is very healthy for our politics. Gachagua now will be the man that will be correcting Ruto's government. If the way I see it, the way I see it, that they might not work together.
So he'll be the opposition in government.
Yeah, he will be just the same way Ruto was. He will be the opposition in government.
Well, if that's the case, and if it will in any way improve the way the government offers its services to Kenyans, then why not?
Because we don't have an opposition.
As long as it doesn't bring any negativity to the Kenyans, kuleta utengamano in any way between Kenyans kwa upande wa ukabila, then so be it. But if he starts bringing up the issue of, I don't know, 1 shilling 1 vote, Kenya. If he continues with that, then no. On that part, I would disagree with him. 100%.
I think that is his major problem. The reason why he's bringing one man 1 shilling thing is because, in politics you have to stand for something, even if it is wrong. And if it is resonating well with your people, then you don't care what other communities think about. I think Gachagua has taken that cue.
No, I don't agree with Gachagua on that 1 man 1 shilling 1 vote. That one is no.
Do you agree? Do you agree?
The president said you have to be nyuma.
Do you agree with that? Do you agree with the Oh, by the way, Natabea was barred from this function.
Was he?
I didn't see him. Did you see him, Natabea?
I didn't observe him.
Yeah, Natabea was not part of the function here. Western presidential tour because of his stand.
But he is not. But he was Trans Nzoia. What business would he have in Bungoma?
But he's a Luya.
Now again, you're taking us to the tribal. That is being tribalistic.
No, I am telling you
If
that
if you are
the
if you
the
are
issue
if you are
the
if you are a
issue
lawyer,
the
must
issue
you
of
go speak somewhere else? That's a region.
you Trans Nzoia ndio wako multilingual, but majority in that region ni Waluya.
So how
Ni
does that
Waluya.
translate to him getting a natural or automatic slot or invitation to the Madaraka Day?
Now,
Don't see that.
my point is
Yes.
this tribal monster that is in Kenya is creeping back in most of the communities, and it is going to creep back in a big way in Western Kenya. That is my point.
That is it's
In
unfortunate.
yeah, it's unfortunate. In Central Province, they are already tribal. They have been tribal all along in their politics. They have been tribal all along in their politics until they voted for William Ruto. Now they are going to go back. That is what Gachagua is saying. In short, we are going to go back, review what we had with you, and we are going to come back and see whether we can work together. That is what he's telling the president in short. And the reason why he's saying this, you need to read the politics, is because Ruto is making inroads in Nyanza. He's courting the Luo communities in the dark, but Gachagua is not happy about it. Raila and his man, just vile uliona hawa jamaa walienda na Ruto na hiyo ndege ya 200 million. They were part of the entourage kukuja huku America. Yeah, that is something that was planned. It was planned. Wageni wako ni nani? Wandai has to be there. Gladys Wanga has to be there. That Nyeri guy, the Kirinyaga governor, and so many other people. So Ruto is courting Nyanza region. He's not also forgetting about how he can influence Mombasa, because remember Mombasa, he came very, very close to capture the gubernatorial seats in the town. That tells you that Mombasa is up for grabs. Mombasa is up for grabs. So he's spreading his nest where he didn't do so well politically. He's going back. That is the reason why he was in Mumias yesterday, to have that Madaraka Day function in that particular area and to dish all those goodies for the Luya community. And the reason why Natabea's equation does not augur with him very well, because already he's in control of Mudavadi and Wetangula as Luyas. By giving them positions, he feels that he's already satisfied the people of Western. So they are questioning that. They need to find a movement that will bring them together, so that when the Kalenjin community is negotiating with the Kikuyus, the Luyas are also there as a block. Do you get my point?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is the point where we are politically in Kenya. And definitely it is something that is dangerous, because tribalism, people are using it effectively. Ruto himself used it effectively by galvanizing Rift Valley, and he started a long time ago to get all the Rift Valley votes in one basket. Alianza kitambo, hakuanza tu ati sahi, na hiyo ndio kina Netebea wanafanya. So Netebea is trying very, very hard to get that Luya vote. Na mimi ndio nasema hii nchi tuigawe tu, watu waende zao, kila mtu achukue position yake. Mimi kama natoka huko Ukambani, niko na nchi yangu ya Wakamba, Wajaluo wako na yao, Waluya wako na nchi yao, Wakale, yani everybody wants ukubwa kwa rais wa hii nchi. Perhaps that BBI thing was a solution.
How would it be a solution? Dividing up the country in along tribal lines. Even aside from that, just dividing the country and fragmenting it. No. That is a wrong trajectory. On that one, I don't agree with you, Zalendo. I believe in one Kenya. I know one day
Yeah,
somehow
I
it's
also
going to
believe
be
in
it's
one
going to be
Kenya.
a great. I know it's going to
I,
be. It's a great nation, and it's going to be in a great position in the future. Whether it's going to be in our generation or the generations to come, whether we'll be present or not by that time. But I do believe that in the future, uh, Kenya will be great. I mean, there's no successful nation. For example, in this case, let's use America because the one that's always been set up as the SI unit, if I may use that. Ya kuonesha nchi imefika mbali is they measure it against US. It took many years for US to get where it is, and it had been a work in progress. See, as it is right now, still a work in progress because I'm sure where they are now is not what they want to be in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They want to even go further. So they are a work in progress. So similarly, Kenya is a work in progress. I believe in many years to come, tutakuwa tumesonga mbali. Who would have thought that 30 years ago Kenya tungekuwa na devolution? Nobody. Would have thought 30 years ago tungekuwa tuna multi-party? Nobody. So just like if anyone would have asked this question 30 years ago, they would say, "I Kenya, hapana." But you see now here we are. Later on, after multi-party kuingizwa, devolution kuingizwa, unaona tumesonga mbele. So I believe Kenya in years to come will even do better. So I'm optimistic.
All right.
Sijavunjika morale na Kenya.
Black, your closing remark, anything that out of the extraordinary?
No, I just want to say congratulations to Real Madrid for winning what they were already aware of. They're going to win this cup. Dortmund yenyewe haina bahati. All the best.
Nimewatch hiyo game.
Game ilikuwa safi sana. Dortmund played really well. And it is unfortunate
think
the minute they made that sub, walipotoa tu sub ya ule mmoja. And that is one thing I came to realize. When you're playing with Real Madrid and you've held your forts well, the minute you change anyone, that's the time you break.
Yeah, unajua mtu player mniwa akiingia aja get a tempo ya game.
It means there's a weak link somewhere.
Yeah, especially the tempo of the game asipoingia, lakini as a good coach, if your team has already, you're playing against Real Madrid and in the first half you've held them 0-0. Well, you don't go attacking that team. You sit back and wait for a counter-attack. Borussia Dortmund would have won that game in the first half. I think they lost so many good chances. That they would have wrapped the game in the first half. Yeah, that guy scored the first goal. Borussia was supposed to score that first goal when he was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper and he missed. He missed. Then they had very, very close chances again and they missed. Then when the team like Real gets an open chance, they'll punish you.
To me, I think it's the substitution. I mean, the minute he just put Michael Royce and Akatole Jama Kwisha, you know, that guy was putting a lot of pressure attacking Real Madrid such that they were attacking Dortmund less.
Yeah,
last time here Bayern made the same mistake. They are 1-0 up. Towards the end of the game, they remove Musiala, then whom? That's when Real Madrid strikes. Nimesoma pattern ya Real Madrid. Whenever you make sub, they will score.
Yeah, because unajua wale jamaa wakiingia kwa game ushacheza 45 minutes.
Any sub you make, there'll be a goal from Real Madrid.
Unajua tempo ya game, unajua vile Vinci anaitwa Vinci ama anaitwaje? Vinicius.
Vinicius.
anakimbia, you know how to control him because you had gone in with the instruction. Lakini player mniu anaingia na instructions mpya ya kufunga bao, na hiyo kufunga bao shimo tap unawachiliwa. Anyway, see you tomorrow, Black, and thank you for being part of AFRIQ. Otherwise, good night.
Okay, good night.
Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Twaenda mbio kokote, Kenya yaenda mbele kokote. Wa elimu tukija